Hi. Hopefully by now you've tried our E minor pentatonic scale, maybe our movable pentatonic scales and blues scales, but maybe you haven't yet. Either way, we're going to do another scale right now. We're going to do the major scale, which is kind of the foundational scale of most music, at least in that you're going to be familiar with that you want to learn on the guitar for the most part. Obviously, there are different scales used by different cultures that are all wonderful, but mostly this major scale is probably what most of you are the most accustomed to listening to. And you may have even learned to sing it. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. We'll talk more about what that scale is actually consists of over in our more theory section. But all we're going to work on today is just ways to play that scale. Why do we want to play that scale on the guitar? I'd say two reasons mostly. One, because it's a fantastic finger exercise. I mean, it's just great. You should absolutely just play scales up and down the neck. You will acquire greater finger strength and dexterity. For that reason alone, we should all be doing scales. Second, you may enjoy knowing those scales for composition, maybe coming up with a riff. You'll think, oh, I need to play a C scale to see what notes might work over this C chord because I want to come up with a cool little guitar part. Or maybe for improvisation. Here's a certain chord going on and I know this scale will somewhat work over this chord, and so there we go. The major scale is usually also what we might call the default setting scale. A lot of times we communicate other scales in terms of the major scale, meaning we sort of assume that you know the major scale and then we just tell you what to change in it. So all that said, let's play these three positions of the major scale. Three ways to finger it. There are lots of different ways to do it, as you would guess. I like to differentiate between my ways of playing the scale by simply what finger I'm starting with. All the versions we're going to learn today start on the E string. So the first one that we're going to learn is one where, by the way, we're going to play a C scale, but these are movable scales, meaning you could start them anywhere and they will work. But we're going to start on the note C. And this first position starts with the fourth finger. So fourth finger is on the note C. And it's going to go like this. Right here, you can see I have to go back to the fourth fret. I'm actually going to duck back like this and just go 1, 1. And back down. Find people who play this scale differently than I do. Their version might even be better, to be honest, but this is just how I do it with that little 1, 1 thing. That works for me. So I like that little slide thing. Other people go back there and finger them differently. Instead of other people avoid that entirely by doing a stretch right there, and I don't really do that usually. So I think this is a great way to do it. Again, it doesn't even so matter much exactly how you're doing it, but that you're using a nice fingering that feels good, so you're getting that finger workout, and that you're becoming familiar with the sound of it and just how to play it on the guitar. So that is our major scale. This is a C one, simply because we're starting on the 8th fret on the 6th string, our C major scale. But if I wanted to play a B scale, I do everything the same, but start 1 fret lower. Or a C sharp scale, everything, or a D flat scale, 1 fret higher. Okay, so just so you get that idea. And that's the fourth finger origination, is what I will call it. Our next position originates with the second finger. So everything's just a little bit different. I'll just put that one going up for now. So you can watch that. And again, the notes are the same, but you can see like that second note of the scale. We played it here the first time, but here we're playing it. So we're playing the exact same note in a different way, which again is one of the things that makes guitar very unique compared to, say, the piano, where there's only one way to play a note. On the guitar, I like to joke around. I'm actually not joking, but I'll say with the guitar, if I'm figuring out something with my ear, I'll say, it's not figuring out what notes they're playing, it's figuring out where they're playing or how they're playing the notes. That's the hard part. Was the C chord here? Was the C chord here? Was the C chord here? You get the idea. So our last position we're going to try is where we already originated that C scale with your fourth finger. We just originated it with your second finger. Now I also want to do a version where we originate it with your first finger. So we're always starting on the same note, we're just starting with a different finger. So this is our first finger scale on the starting on the E string on the note C, and here we have to do what's called an extension. An extension is when we have a finger, instead of just being 2 frets apart, we're going to act, well, 1 fret apart I should say, we're going to make them 2 frets apart. It's really hard down on these lower strings, to be honest. It's a little, maybe a little easier up here, maybe not actually. But we're just going to kind of gently let our fingers come apart. If you're having a hard time doing it, you might need to change your angle just a little bit to where you get kind of on the side of your first finger instead of being directly down. That's a little hard, but if you turn this way, it might help a little bit. You also probably will have a hard time doing it if your thumb is up high here. So bring your thumb down almost as if you were doing a bar chord. And now we're going to start, we're going to do an extension, 1, extended 2, 4. Same thing. First finger creeps up, and then the whole thing shifts up. And there we are, all the way to a C. Note we didn't even play any notes on the first string. You could actually play another, those are actually notes in the scale, but I just sort of wrote it out to where it stopped on C, because that'll probably sound the most natural to your ear. Okay? So we just learned 3 different ways to play a movable major scale. We started 1. They all originate on the E string for now. Some we'll learn maybe later that originate on the A string or the 5th string. But this one originated with 4th finger. The next one originated with 2nd finger. And the next one originated with 1st finger. And even if this doesn't make perfect sense to you, I would just encourage you to play and just to build that finger dexterity. And then you'll start to see how you're playing a lot of the same notes, just in slightly different locations on the guitar. So good luck practicing your movable major scales.